Oh, yeah. Welcome to Wrestling Uncensored. I am Dave Simon. Johnny North is here with me via satellite. What's up, Big Johnny?
I'm well again. How are you?
Oh, yeah. We're doing well. We are socially distancing. Johnny North doing this from his home. I'm here at the Ringside Report Network bunker. We are doing the show. You can watch this show on YouTube. You can watch this show on our Facebook page. You can also listen to this show, as many of you are, via podcast, however you get your podcasts, and also on the radio. We're on TSN 690 radio in Montreal. We're also on Extra PTBO out in Peterborough at a new time this weekend out in Peterborough. So big shout out to everybody in the Pete this weekend as we have a big show coming up here, Wrestling Uncensored, trying to get your mind off everything going on in the world and sticking to the pro wrestling, sticking to what's going on in the WWE and AEW. And oh my goodness, there's a lot going on in the world of professional wrestling right now. Roman Reigns has pulled out of WrestleMania. The big dog, the whole company, the franchise of the WWE, the top star for World Wrestling Entertainment, will not be appearing at WrestleMania this year because he is worried about his health. Roman Reigns doesn't have the best immune system because he has dealt with leukemia a couple times in the past, so he's worried that his health could be at serious risk. We know that this coronavirus attacks people who have a weakened immune system, and Roman Reigns is one of those people. So Roman Reigns playing it safe this week as they were taping WrestleMania this week. That's right, taping, recording WrestleMania, not a live show. It will be a recorded show because the WWE trying to get as much programming in, as much stuff recorded before the whole state of Florida, where they are recording, goes into total lockdown, if it does indeed get to that point, which it seems like it will be if it isn't already. Of course, we record this show and things change, right? This show, like WrestleMania, isn't always live because we're on in several different markets. We're all over the place. We're on YouTube and so on. So, by the time this show airs, however you're hearing it, things may change. Things are always changing now on a daily basis as far as, the global pandemic that we're dealing with. And that, of course, is bleeding into every single aspect of life, including professional wrestling. WWE trying to avoid it hampering the business, but at the same time, you can't avoid it. And now with Roman Reigns dropping out of WrestleMania, that's a major piece of the WWE puzzle that will not be appearing on what is supposed to be the biggest show of the year. Now, just a strange show for the WWE. Not really sure what WrestleMania is going to look like this year, how it's going to be, what it's going to feel like. It's not going to feel like any other WrestleMania before. WrestleMania 36 will always be that Mania that you remember as the empty arena Mania. And now Roman Reigns, who was supposed to wrestle Bill Goldberg for the WWE Universal Championship, this was supposed to be his crowning moment. He returned after nearly a year away from leukemia last year in his big comeback match at WrestleMania, beats Drew McIntyre, has a whole year trying to beat Baron Corbin pretty much and some other guys, and then, build himself back up to that Universal Championship shot, a title that he never lost, the championship he had to give up when he had to leave the company due to his bout with leukemia. So this was really supposed to be a year in the making, big crowning achievement for Roman Reigns, beats the unstoppable Goldberg, spear versus spear, passing of the torch, Roman's spear is better, Roman's the Universal Champion, and we move forward in this Roman Reigns era, but now we're not even going to get that at WrestleMania. I mean, Roman Reigns not appearing at this Mania means we wait longer or somebody else becomes a Universal Champion in the meantime. I'm not really sure what the WWE plans on doing other than putting in Braun Strowman in there to wrestle Bill Goldberg instead at Mania for the Universal Championship. We talked about it a little bit on Dave and Johnny Live, but Johnny, I know that you don't really think there would be a problem with putting the Universal title on Braun right now, whereas I think you keep it on Goldberg until you're ready to have a real show in front of real fans with Roman Reigns in there, and you put him over Bill Goldberg.
Well, I saw that you tweeted that why even have WrestleMania if you don't have your big guy, your top guy on the show. And the way I look at it, WrestleMania, there's so many main event matches you can live without that one match. I mean, I think eventually it's going to happen. Roman Reigns, Bill Goldberg. It's just not going to happen WrestleMania. Maybe it won't happen for the championship, but I think you'll get that match one day. Roman one day will be champion again. It's just not now.
I think it has to be for the championship. I think at this point you have to keep the title on Goldberg. He's the guy that defeated The Fiend. He's the guy that ended his unstoppable reign, and he's the guy that's the Universal Champion. I don't think you put it on Braun Strowman right now. Braun has not been built to be the guy to beat the guy. He's just not. He's not that right now. Braun Strowman is a monster. He's a big old dude. He looks impressive, but he's just not the champion right now. It doesn't make sense as far as how they've built him in their story. And even as far as a champion, I just don't see what they do with Braun Strowman going forward as the Universal Champion. I think it makes way more sense to just wait it out, keep it on Goldberg until Roman's ready, and you could drop that title to Roman Reigns. I feel like Roman is the only guy who should be the Universal Champion here off of Bill Goldberg. The fact that they took The Fiend's lengthy run, this big, unstoppable force of The Fiend, Bray Wyatt, and they ended it with Goldberg, the only way to save that is by making Roman even bigger off of it. If you make Braun Strowman off of it, you know you're not going to really be making Braun Strowman long term. Whatever this is, it's just a Band-Aid. It's a blip on the radar on the way to Roman Reigns and making him, and the whole company's about him. So if you just come here with this Braun Strowman thing, just give the title to Braun, whatever. No, it's not whatever, because you've already built Goldberg to be this achievement, and when you beat Goldberg, it's supposed to mean something, and if Braun Strowman beats Goldberg, it will mean nothing, because you know, as well as I do, they're not going to do anything long-term push-wise for Braun Strowman. That's been proven time and time again by the WWE when they've had the opportunities to push Braun Strowman and make him a next-level superstar, make him a world champion. Countless times they've had the chance and they have not taken it. So for now, if they say, oh, we'll just make him champion, let's elevate Braun, you know it's not long-term. You know that it's not well planned out, and Roman Reigns is the guy. He's the guy that's long-term, and he's the guy that they have built for this moment. So, look, if Roman's not there, you delay the moment. You don't give the moment to some other guy who just happened to show up as a replacement. Braun Strowman, as far as I know, wasn't even supposed to be at WrestleMania. Wasn't even booked. Now you're going to make him your top guy? Doesn't make sense.
Well, I can just throw it back onto you from last year. Kofi Kingston, Kofi Mania, that wasn't planned. He was a replacement, and yet they ran with it.
And long term, how'd that work out?
Well, Kofi had a nice, healthy reign, I think, as champion. Maybe not the greatest reign ever, but still a healthy reign.
He didn't have a great run, and long term, they really didn't do anything with Kofi Kingston. They really didn't, follow through with the Kofi title run. Now, I don't think that's Kofi's fault, and I don't think that they shouldn't have followed through. Like, I think, hey, they screwed up on Kofi's title run. They could have done more with Kofi Kingston. I'm of the mindset that, yeah, okay, maybe Kofi should have lost to Daniel Bryan even at WrestleMania. Maybe they should have kept Bryan going because they didn't do enough. I mean, they continuously do that. They chop out the champion's legs right from under them as soon as they become champion. I mean, Daniel Bryan was doing this great stuff. The Planet's champion. They gave him a new belt. He had this whole gimmick. He had Eric Rowan, and then it all kind of fell apart for one reason or another. They decided to go with Kofi Kingston. Kofi was hot at the time. People decided that Kofi Kingston deserved it. And yeah, Kofi Kingston definitely deserved a WWE Championship run at some point. It just didn't make sense to me that you take out Daniel Bryan's title run to benefit Kofi, because Daniel Bryan still had a lot of time left in that run. So you killed that run prematurely, and then you give the title to Kofi. You don't really give him much of a title run. Once he wins at Mania, that's as high as he's going to go. After that, he's not really the main event. He's kind of on the mid-card. They were doing the dual-branded pay-per-views back then, so whoever was the champion on the other brand was really the main champion. That's who they focused on. It wasn't focused on Kofi Kingston. It was Seth Rollins or Roman Reigns or Brock Lesnar or whoever else was on Raw, right? And Kofi Kingston was this WWE champion that wasn't really pushed. And then they just take Kofi's legs right out from under him. They have him squashed by Brock Lesnar in like 3 minutes, and then Brock Lesnar goes on as WWE champion. So the WWE does this time and time again. They'll make somebody because in the moment it seems like the right thing to do, but they don't have any long-term planning as far as how to build this guy into a star, how to make this guy be a money maker for the company. They have squandered Daniel Bryan time and time again. He's one of the greatest wrestlers to ever live, and they have him doing basically nothing. They squander this guy, and Kofi Kingston, again, a top draw, a great talker, a charismatic dude, a guy with tons of personality that wasn't really able to shine when he was the WWE champion. The New Day is a great act. They're all tremendous performers. They could all be WWE champion. They could all have feuded with Kofi in one way or another. The fact that the Shield was all made world champion and the New Day, only one guy gets to be champion, I don't really understand that. I think that the New Day, pound for pound, entertainment for entertainment, far more entertaining than the Shield ever was. It's just the way the WWE is built. The Shield guys, they got pushed. The New Day guys, well, they're always going to be a tag team act for some reason. And you see the way they have Kofi positioned right now. He was the WWE champion last year. They could have done something with him, but they failed. They failed. Kofi didn't fail. The WWE failed on making Kofi Kingston into a main event top-level performer, and they relegated him back into the tag team division, doing absolutely nothing. And now at WrestleMania, because The Miz is sick, the SmackDown tag team titles probably won't even be defended because Morrison and The Miz are the champions, and The Miz is not going to be appearing at WrestleMania or probably the SmackDown after Mania because all that's being taped this week, and The Miz is sick and apparently was sent home because he's sick. What's he sick with? Nobody knows. The rumors are flying, though, of course, as the wrestling business is prone to do. Now, all that said, Kofi Kingston, not built. They could have done it. They didn't do it. They don't plan ahead. Braun Strowman, same deal. Nowhere near as entertaining as Kofi, but what he lacks as far as wrestling ability, athleticism, and entertainment, he makes up for in size and strength and just impressiveness. So, hey, they could have done something with Braun years ago. They didn't. They're not going to do it now. They're not going to do it now. They don't have the plan to do it now. It doesn't make any kind of sense to do it now. Roman Reigns is the guy. Keep the title on Bill until Roman's ready to go.
Well, they might be stuck. They might be in a situation where they have to put it on Braun Strowman because what if Bill Goldberg doesn't agree to wrestle after WrestleMania? Maybe he's just there and then he's gone. You have to put it on Braun. You have no choice. They're in a tough situation right here.
It's my understanding that Goldberg is going to stick around.
Well, if that's the case, then yeah, I'd keep the title on Goldberg. But I wouldn't be surprised. They've done this before in the past where it's like, oh, we'll change it because we need something exciting to happen at WrestleMania. Who knows if Brock's going to retain or not? Maybe they need a title change.
I think if they need a title change, you can structure the shows in a way where we get a title change. It doesn't have to be the main title. Come on, man. At this point, who cares? There's no fans. I don't think you need a title change at WrestleMania, really, as far as the main titles go. I think Goldberg retaining is fine. Goldberg hitting Braun Strowman with like 2 or 3 spears and just beating him, that works fine with me. I got no problem with that. And Brock Lesnar beating Drew McIntyre, I think, is fine. At this point, though, they might have Drew take the title just to kind of give us something and do a major change. I was thinking that Drew would not take the title, but now maybe he will. But Brock could still hold on to it, and you could do a title change with somebody else. Sami Zayn, Daniel Bryan for the Intercontinental title. You're telling me Daniel Bryan's not going to win that title from Sami?
I'm actually very concerned for Daniel Bryan because his wife's concerned for him because he's had a history of asthma problems. So, I mean, he's going to not be with his family for 3 weeks after he's done wrestling.
Oh, really?
That's what she says, that he's going to have to go into quarantine for at least 3 weeks after he comes back.
Wow. Yeah, well, it's difficult, man. It's difficult times, and you have to make difficult decisions right now. It's tough, man. But I think Daniel Bryan probably going to be at WrestleMania. We still don't know because a lot of things are changing right now as far as the WrestleMania card. But thankfully, Johnny, we're going to get the match that we all wanted, we all need to see. Mojo Rawley versus Baron Corbin?
Really? That's the match? I thought it was Baron Corbin versus Elias. I thought that's the match they made.
Oh, I don't know. I wasn't clear because Gronk can't cut a promo. He's terrible. Who wants to see Gronk? No more Gronk.
But he's the host. He's going to do all the segments.
Yuck. He was awful. I did not like that guy. He was not very good. That whole segment was one of the worst segments in the history of WWE television. The empty arena Gronk dance, followed by Mojo Rawley dancing around with him. Which, by the way, what happened to Evil Mojo? What happened to Mojo Rawley doing those promos in the mirror where he's like, I hate myself. I can't believe I'm Mojo. Da, da, da. Remember that whole thing? He was Mojo. He was Evil Mojo. And now because Gronk is back, he's back to Get Hype Mojo. Like, there was no transition. There was no explanation as to why Mojo is now this Mojo. Also, wasn't Mojo on Raw? What is the deal? He's on SmackDown now, and he's a completely different character just because Gronk is there. It's totally dumb. What? Am I missing something here, John? Did I miss Mojo explaining why he's no longer evil? And when he was doing those mirror promos, I told you that it was going to go nowhere. I said, this is stupid. This is going to go nowhere. Why are they wasting our time with this Mojo stuff? We all know Mojo's not going to be anything. Why are we wasting our time with Mojo? And then, boom, Mojo's back to, Get Hype Mojo. You know, the same old Mojo that's been around forever, it seems like. He was in NXT as this Mojo. He was part of the Hype Bros with Zack Ryder. They tried to do this evil Mojo, looking into the mirror Mojo, and it went nowhere, just as I predicted, Vince.
I feel you on this Mojo lack of love here, but I think they're really invested in him because at SummerSlam it's going to be in Boston, and I imagine they're going to get a huge pop there.
Because Gronk played for the Patriots.
That's right.
So stupid. So dumb. Do you think Vince is mad at Roman Reigns for no showing WrestleMania? This is a man, by the way. Don't forget, Vince McMahon is a guy who hates people sneezing near him because he despises illness or weakness in any kind of way. Vince McMahon is notoriously cold-hearted when it comes to the wrestling business. I'm wearing a very sweet vintage Vince McMahon t-shirt with Vince's big face on it, which I like very much. Just out of respect for Vince and his just stubbornness and pushing this whole thing through. But do you think there's any resentment from Vince that Roman isn't going to wrestle? And do you think that this may affect him long-term as far as his push, and maybe he won't be the guy to take the title from Goldberg because Vince is mad that he no-showed Mania? Anything, you think? Because Vince, you never know with Vince.
Well, if he is upset, I don't think he's showing it. I'm pretty sure they told All Talent, like, if you're uncomfortable wrestling, don't wrestle. I imagine they made this as safe as possible because that stuff gets out if, like, Vince is mad or something. So they know they don't want that to get leaked or anything. So they're going to definitely push the message that it's okay if you can't wrestle. If you don't want to wrestle, don't wrestle.
All right. Well, I hope you're right. I hope you're right, and the WWE is being reasonable about this thing. Yeah. So it's going to be, you're right, it is Elias versus Baron Corbin. Why? Why is that at WrestleMania?
Well, I think originally it was supposed to be Cena and Elias, right? And I guess Baron Corbin probably had another match, but I guess his match got canceled, so this was the leftover matches, pretty much, or leftover guys for a match.
So don't book them. If it's just leftovers, just, like, avoid it. I'm looking at 13 matches right now booked for WrestleMania. 13 matches. Thankfully, it's over 2 nights, so we don't have to sit through this in one night.
Well, it's another thing to take into consideration. Probably the Universal title might be the main event of one night, right? So again, maybe they feel the main event, they need a title change.
I don't think you have to make the Universal title the main event of one night. I've heard Becky and Shayna for the Raw title is going to be the main event of one of the nights. So you could do Brock Lesnar.
That sounds about right.
Becky is the main event of night 1. Brock Lesnar main event of night 2. Goldberg doesn't need to main event.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. I mean, they could do it however they want to do it, but it's already been done, right? So what's done is done. They can't really change it. I mean, they could change the order, I suppose. It doesn't really matter, right? But I wouldn't be surprised because it's the top title. The Universal and WWE Championships, if they're not the main events, I'd be kind of surprised.
Could we just send Goldberg to the Boneyard so he could wrestle Taker and AJ, and maybe Taker could be champion at the end of the night? Triple threat, brother, in the Boneyard. What is a Boneyard match?
So it's rumored that it's a cemetery kind of match.
Yeah. Yeah. AJ Styles promo this week.
I don't know how you win that.
Yeah, exactly. I have no idea. I guess there'll be a referee in a cemetery, and that's what they'll be doing. I have no idea what a boneyard match is. I don't know. Maybe they'll be hitting each other with bones that they dig out of the dirt. Who knows? Maybe somebody will get buried alive. Maybe Kane will show up. I have no idea what a boneyard match is. I liked AJ Styles' promo on The Undertaker this week, though. Really making fun of The Undertaker, saying that he looks like a goth Tiger King, and then playing the video of Undertaker with Michelle, and they're reading this thing to, like, save the Tigers, and he's just making fun of Taker and laughing at him. He's like, who is this guy? What is wrong with this guy? It was so good. AJ saying things about Mark Calloway, The Undertaker, that we've all been thinking and saying on Wrestling Uncensored, because on Wrestling Uncensored, the things that we think about wrestling, well, we just say them because who cares, right? Vince McMahon's not going to, what's he going to do to me? So, it's ridiculous. I saw that video that Undertaker posted where he's like with the tiger, petting the tiger in the water, talking about saving the tigers, and then Michelle's there. You could almost see Michelle like pulling the strings behind Undertaker. Like, do this, Taker. This is what you got to do, Mark. This is what we're doing today, Mark. He's like, okay, Michelle, whatever you want. Unbelievable, man. Just fantastic to see Taker just eviscerated by AJ Styles in these promos. If Taker's going to go out and be on Twitter, Taker's on Twitter. AJ Styles is going all mad. That was great stuff. If Taker's going to be on Twitter, if Taker's going to post these videos in a pool with Michelle and a tiger talking about save the tigers, well, AJ's going to make fun of him. If Taker's going to show up sometimes as this big evil guy and then sometimes as the American badass and we're not really sure who he is, well, AJ Styles is going to make fun of him. And I love it. That was my favorite part of Raw this week, the AJ Styles promo. It's been my favorite part of Raw every week for the past several weeks. AJ Styles and Undertaker are killing it. It is my favorite thing going into WrestleMania. There's nothing that I'm more excited for than Undertaker versus AJ Styles in a boneyard match, which I don't even understand why AJ challenged Taker to a boneyard match. He's like, Taker, this is your match. This is a boneyard match. And I'm like, wait a second. I've never seen a boneyard match before. Isn't Taker's match like a casket match or like a buried alive match or like at the very least an inferno match? I've never seen a boneyard match. How come AJ Styles is saying, Taker, this is your match, boneyard match? And the rest of us are like, wait a second. I've watched Undertaker for a pretty long time. I don't recall any of these boneyard matches before. Casket match, sure. Boneyard match? Never heard of it, brother.
Well, you know WWE loves to change up their terminology. They've gotten rid of wrestling a lot of the time, right? You can't say you're a wrestler. Even though I think in NXT and Daniel Bryan say wrestling a lot. But sometimes you're not allowed to say that depending who you are. So maybe that's it. Maybe coffin and casket, you can't say that anymore. You can't say buried alive, that's too edgy. So I guess boneyard is the only thing you can say.
You can't have a casket match anymore?
Probably too violent.
Seriously?
Too much of a finale kind of thing.
That is ridiculous. You could say boneyard, though? Are they going to be in a cemetery? You know what they have in cemeteries, right, John? Caskets. But they're buried.
I'm hoping bones, right? Because it's a boneyard, right? So there better be bones. I'm hoping Michelle's in this, too, because you keep hyping Michelle. I hope she's in this in the end.
And what gives AJ the whatever she called it, Styles Clash that she stole?
Yeah, the cool finish. Yeah, sure.
Yeah. I don't think so, Big Johnny. I don't think Michelle's going to be in the boneyard. Michelle, you stay away from the boneyard. You don't want to be near the boneyard, Michelle. I think Taker is going to lose, too, in the boneyard. Let's go, AJ. I want to see AJ win. But now that it's a boneyard match, like straight up match, I thought AJ was going to win. Boneyard match changes everything. I don't see Taker losing the first ever boneyard match.
Well, we don't know how you lose this kind of match, so I'm doubting there's going to be pinfalls or submissions. It's probably just throw him into something. And if that's the case, yeah, I definitely think AJ is going to lose this, but it's not really that big of a loss. If anything, I see this probably continuing after WrestleMania because a lot of these matches are like first time for the program, it seems. Like usually it's like the end of a feud or something. Like this is like the third match. You're finally getting the end of it. A lot of these matches are brand new.
Yeah, Undertaker, AJ Styles, it's the first one, but how many matches do you really think Taker's going to come back for here with AJ?
I think at least 2 or 3.
Really?
I mean, if you haven't even put in Michelle, yeah, for sure, I think. You have just a regular wrestling match and then a finale finally.
I don't know. I thought that this was going to be one and done with AJ, but maybe you're right. You might be right about that. How about a match that came out of nowhere the first time ever for no reason whatsoever? Aleister Black and Bobby Lashley. They announced that on Raw this week. Why? It's another one. It's like Elias King Corbin. Why? Aleister Black, Bobby Lashley. Huh?
What I had heard is because they want to get Lana on the show. So that's pretty much why. And they like Aleister Black. Aleister Black apparently was almost in Drew McIntyre's spot. So they want both those guys on the show in some capacity.
Wait, they want Bobby on the show or they want Lana on the show? And why do they want Lana on the show? Who cares?
Well, they signed Lana for 5 years, and she's in a movie with Bruce Willis eventually. So they're really hyping her like crazy, as you saw with pretty much giving her the main event spot for so many weeks on Raw. Not surprised by that they're just going to give Bobby a match just because Lana's there.
Where's Rusev? Where's Miroslav?
Oh, he's done, I think. Like, they don't need him. Just keep him on the sidelines.
So if he's done, AEW, could we expect to see big Rusev in AEW?
I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, he's kind of like the next Luke Harper in a sense, I imagine.
I think he'd be a great addition. He's a very talented guy, very good wrestler, big, got a great look, funny, could cut a promo. I'm a big fan of Rusev's, and I think he's another guy that's been underused by the WWE. Speaking of AEW, I want to talk about what they're doing, what happened on Dynamite this week. I thought, again, they did a really good show figuring out how to do these empty arena events. And we're going to talk about AEW when we come back. A short pause here for the radio side. This is Wrestling Uncensored. Stay with us. Commercial break. I'm not doing any ads right now.
That's nice.
We're just gonna come back. Okay, everybody. We love you big time. Thanks for watching. Super chat us. If you're watching this live on the premiere, hit up that super chat. Send us your questions. You have any questions? Johnny North is on the chat. He's watching the show, and he will answer any kind of questions that you have throughout the show on the super chat. So if you're doing it already, thank you very much. If you're not, hit us up. And if you have any questions for Big Johnny, he's on the chat as we speak, and he'll be answering any of your questions. Right, Sean?
And next week's going to be our big WrestleMania preview show, right?
Holy shit. Yes, it will be. Wow. Woo. Woo, woo, woo. It's going to be fun. And what are we doing next weekend?
We got to this point.
Like, are we doing watch along?
I don't know how that's going to work. That's kind of weird how that works, because like I have to watch you and then like watch another screen at the same time. How does it work?
Well, it would be the same for me. I'd be talking to you, but then I'd also have, Mania. Like, I'd have Mania up on the TV here, and then I'd have you over there. I'd be looking at you and talking to you. But I'm thinking maybe, I think we do it that way. Do a Mania watch-along. We have to do a Mania watch-along, don't we? It's goddamn WrestleMania, brother.
We'll have to figure out how it's all going to work. I mean, if there was a way that I could just watch it off of you, that'd be fantastic.
No, I don't think that's possible. Because then I'd be broadcasting.
Probably not.
Then I'd be broadcasting WrestleMania illegally. I can't do that.
It's all free now, isn't it? I thought WWE made everything free.
Yeah, but I can't rebroadcast. You watch it free. Huh. Okay, well, we'll figure out whether... We'll do a WrestleMania watch-along. We have to, right? We have to. But how are we going to do it? It's going to be tough. It's not going to be easy. It's a lot easier when we're watching the... But you watch Mania over there. I watch Mania over here,
right,
and then we talk to each other. How hard is that?
It's not the hardest thing. It's just, sometimes I miss some things. That's it.
That's what I'm here for. All right, we'll figure it out. I think we're going to do it. We got to do it for the Wrestling Uncensored universe, man. I know that we're... keeping a distance and everything's crazy right now, but we got to keep it. We got to keep it going, man. We got to do WrestleMania watch along, at least for one of the nights, if not both nights. Busy.
Suppose try it for Saturday. See how it goes.
All right. Well, we'll talk a little bit more about this off the air. Big Johnny, let's get back into it here in 3, 2, 1. And we are back. It is Wrestling Uncensored. I am Dave Simon. Johnny North is here. WrestlingUncensored.net is the website. RingsideReport.net. If you're watching this video on YouTube, you can like the video. You can subscribe to the channel. You can leave a comment. You can super chat as well during the premiere. If you're listening to us on the radio, there is always more going on over on the YouTube channel and on the Facebook page. You can get all the info for that at ringsidereport.net. All the videos are posted there. And, you could see us. You could see Johnny. You could see me. And you could see that we are doing these shows via satellite. We're doing these shows remotely because we're not staying in the same room with anybody these days. It's a weird deal. Keeping it very, very tight. Trying to stop the coronavirus. So, hopefully that ends pretty soon and we can get back to normal. Because I'm getting pretty sick of it. But, it's out of our hands. And the best thing that we can do is do the show as we're doing it from a distance, keeping our distance to everybody. And hopefully will be back to normal soon. AEW doing an empty arena show this week. They open it up with the Codester, the American Nightmare, Cody Rhodes getting the win over Jimmy Havoc. A nice little opening match, and then Cody was on commentary for the rest of the night.
Yeah, it was a match. I thought it was all right. It just felt like they didn't have a lot of good chemistry. It just felt like they were going through the motions at some points. Some points, some good moments, but kind of scrappy, a little sloppy actually at sometimes.
Yeah. I think for wrestlers, especially doing that style of match, you need the crowd to kind of get you hyped up. And, you know, Jimmy Havoc wrestles like a hardcore kind of crash and bang style. And without the crowd kind of going nuts and popping for the spots, I figure it's hard to do. You're a wrestler. What do you think? Wouldn't it be weird wrestling that type of style, like a brawl in an empty arena with no crowd to kind of give you that reception to kind of let you know where you stand?
Well, it's kind of like practice. A lot of them just go through the motions like that, in a sense, just practicing wrestling. However, with this, you know that there's millions of people watching you through the cameras. So you do have an audience, and you should project at least to that audience, and I think they do a good job of doing that. It's just it feels like from last week where you had the wrestlers as the crowd, having them backstage, it just felt like it was all distant from each other and there was no emotion.
Yeah, it didn't have the same emotion as the show did last week. With all the wrestlers ringside, it felt like there was an energy, there was an ambiance, but it definitely felt less than that this week because the wrestlers were like backstage in some sort of trailer or something, and that's the crowd that they kind of went back to. It was odd, but I guess now, like, you see the difference, right, between last week and this week. Last week, it was safe to have a dozen wrestlers sitting ringside during the matches because you could assemble, you know, maybe 20 people in a room. This week, it's like, no more than 10 people in a room, if that, and you couldn't even have people sitting ringside this week for Dynamite. Like, isn't it crazy how last week it was kind of safe to do? This week, it's like, no, it's no longer safe. You can't even have a couple of wrestlers sitting ringside watching these matches.
I'm kind of hopeful they've taped some episodes of Dynamite now because you never know when they're just going to be told that, no, you can't even have wrestling here, period. So hopefully they've taped stuff just like WWE because I think it's going to be necessary. You had no JR on commentary, no Excalibur as well. You're losing people, and it seems like they have no choice.
Yeah, no JR, no Excalibur. Tony Schiavone was on commentary there, and they had to kind of pull it together with Cody, and eventually Kenny Omega joined the commentary team. I thought Cody was really good on commentary, though. I mean, that was a bright spot. I thought Cody was great.
Cody's great because he knows his wrestling history. He brought up a lot of WCW history, which was fantastic. And Kenny's a nice variety from what Tony and Cody offer. So it was fine. Commentary, I had no problem with it. But still, it's just not the same as it was last week. Nothing against what the wrestlers did because the effort was definitely there. But you could just tell, like, some matches, they just didn't mesh well.
It wasn't as good as last week, right? But I thought it was still the best wrestling show of the week.
I thought NXT was good. It lacks the star power. So it's hard to get invested with a lot of characters that you don't really care about to begin with.
Exactly. And that's what I think we have with AEW. You have a lot of characters that you do care about, that you are invested in, and even some of the new characters you're getting more invested in. I thought that Jake the Snake promo, talking about Cody, and then talking about Lance Archer coming in and eventually getting a match here with Cody, getting a chance to wrestle Cody. I thought that promo was fantastic, and I like Jake the Snake very much as a way to introduce Lance Archer, and I think that his promo was just great stuff. Jake the Snake is a great promo. Always has been, always will be.
Well, I think Jake showed to me that pre-tape he sounds better. So I don't know what they're able to do, like fixing his voice, because like when he's live on the mic, it sounds like his voice is dying. But pre-tape, I guess they can plan it out better. You can take pauses, and it seems like you can hear him better.
Yeah, He can edit it out as well. Maybe there's something to, when he's on a microphone in front of a crowd, you kind of got to yell a little bit more. But when you're just kind of sitting there, you can be a little bit quieter and you don't have to project as much. And that was always Jake's forte, I think, not really standing in front of a crowd with a microphone. He was better in those backstage promos, even in his prime, right? Even in the 80s.
Well, he used to have a very low tone kind of voice, but it was kind of sinister in a sense. But over time, I think his voice is starting to die out, so it's hard to pick up what he's saying on a mic. But I guess backstage where they can edit it, make it better, it's not so bad.
How do you think they deal with Lance Archer and Cody Rhodes and that match? How do you think they bring in Archer as, it'll be his first match, but he's wrestling Cody, who's still a top guy, who's well booked in the company, pretty protected. He loses some matches, but, he lost to Chris Jericho, he lost to MJF, but he's still, one of the top guys in the company. Here you bring in Lance Archer, here's this new guy. When they brought in Butcher and the Blade, their first match was against Cody and somebody in a tag team, right? And did they win?
QT Marshall.
Right, and they beat them, right, because QT was there. But then the next week, didn't Cody come back with a different, the Butcher and the Blade were beat by Cody and somebody pretty quickly, right?
Darby Allin.
There you go. So that's what I'm wondering. When the Butcher and the Blade came in, I thought, they're going to beat Cody, and Cody's not going to get a win because they're really going to put these guys over. And yeah, the first week it was like that. They put him over, but they really beat QT Marshall, who's basically a jobber in AEW right now. So when it was the Butcher and the Blade against Cody and Darby Allin, who are two single stars on their own, but not really a tag team in any kind of way, I thought, Butcher and Blade might still win this thing. You want to put these guys over as a strong tag team. But no, they lost. I was a little bit surprised. Now, here with Lance Archer, he's going to come in, probably have his first match against Cody. Does he beat Cody Rhodes clean here? Should he beat Cody clean? I think he should, because I think you could elevate Archer to be one of the top guys in AEW, and a win over Cody would help get you there. And, Archer doesn't have to win a clean match here over Cody. There could be some outside stuff. Jake the Snake is there in Archer's corner. I know that Jake the Snake has been taking some shots at Arn Anderson. Maybe Arn and Jake could get into it. Cody could get involved and then allow Archer to win the match type of deal. There are ways around it, but if I were booking things, I would have Archer go over Cody in his first outing for AEW, just to put him over strong as a guy that you could believe in as a top guy in the company.
Well, yes, because it's his first match. I definitely think Cody's going to put him over. Will it be clean? That's kind of questionable because Cody, like you said, he's still one of the top guys in the company, so they're not going to completely destroy Cody, I think, in this match. But at the same time, Archer's first match, I think they want to push him like crazy. So I imagine they're going to make him look strong. So I definitely think the win. Maybe it's not clean, but still, I think in just one match alone, they'll show how great Archer is.
Would you be nervous going into a company, your first match in the company, you need to impress, and it's against your boss?
Well, if anything, it's better that way, right? Because you know that he's watching, because sometimes the bosses aren't always watching. They're busy doing something else. So it's better that they get to see you firsthand and realize, I can trust this guy no matter what. So it's actually, you want that.
All right. Good insight there from top professional wrestler Johnny North. Follow him on Twitter at NorthGenesis, on Instagram at Genesis Johnny North. He still has, I think, a couple Johnny North t-shirts for sale, so go hit him up for those. Darby Allin beat Kip Sabian with the Last Supper maneuver there. A nice little pinfall move from Darby Allin. I like the finish. The match was, it was all right.
Well, I think, again, it's a match where they'll hype it like crazy, saying, these guys are the future of AEW. And they are. It just, I felt the chemistry, again, it wasn't quite there. I think they want it to be there. I think they want this to be a huge feud going forward. But it just, unfortunately, didn't click in this match. It happens.
Yeah, I don't know. There was something about the size of them and the way they were working. I just didn't like it.
I just felt like Darby was going, like, different degree than what Kip was going. I think Kip wanted to kind of go a slower pace, and Darby was just going full speed, and it just didn't work out, unfortunately. It was still, again, not the worst match. It was fine, but it was just another
I have yet to be impressed by Kip Sabian.
I thought the Cody match was actually really good. I think his first Cody match was very good.
He's not my favorite guy in AEW.
He also did a very good mixed tag. The only mixed tag they've done in AEW, when it was him and Penelope against Kenny and Rio. That was a very good match.
Yeah, that was good. But Kenny and Rio were in it.
Well, with a lot of guys, that's it. It's just chemistry. Some people, they work together. The matchups are important. And unfortunately, sometimes you're not going to get a great matchup.
Like Sammy Guevara, he's solid. I like Sammy Guevara and all. I don't think he's the best wrestler in AEW, but his match with Kenny Omega was the best match on the show. Because he wrestled Kenny Omega.
Match of the week, without question. I don't think anything topped that on any show. Raw, SmackDown, and NXT. It was easily the best match.
But that's mostly because of Kenny Omega and how great he is. He's just the best thing going today. He's the best wrestler walking planet Earth. And anytime he goes out there on AEW, he steals the show. He's the best. He's Kenny Omega. Best bout machine.
I definitely think it helps, but I think Sammy really showcased how really athletic he is. And I think in the future, he's going to be one of the top stars in wrestling.
Yeah, I think Sammy has a very bright future. I think he's a very talented guy, and wrestling guys like Kenny Omega will definitely elevate him. Kenny Omega defending his AAA Mega Championship. That is the title he holds as part of the AAA Mexican wrestling promotion out there. Kenny getting the one-winged angel and then the pinfall on Sammy Guevara for the win. Jake Hager had a match on Dynamite this week, which I think was his first match on Dynamite.
Maybe his second, because he was in the six-man tag last week.
All right, but this is his first singles match on Dynamite, beating a man by the name of Chico Adams. Who's Chico Adams?
I'm going to guess a local that they had around there, because I guess Tony Khan is supporting wrestlers that are out of work, so he's giving guys opportunities.
That's nice. That's actually a pretty good call. Jake Hager beat him in a squash, hit him with a seated arm triangle that he turned into an arm triangle there on the ground. So Hager's no longer doing the standing arm triangle. It's more seated and then finishes it in a real way. Hager's changing the approach. Maybe he heard my critique of his move on Wrestling Uncensored.
Well, it's funny because Taz did the post show of Dynamite on YouTube, and he said both ways work. And Taz, has a lot of experience in submission wrestling, so.
What, he thinks standing works?
He says standing works, on the ground's even better, but he says both ways work.
Taz is a judo guy. What does he know about ground fighting? What does he know about submission wrestling on the ground? No disrespect to judo. Judo is a great martial art, very, very effective, but as far as chokes and stuff, that's not judo. You're not doing that. Sorry, Taz.
Taz did a lot of chokes, though, in wrestling.
In pro wrestling, you mean, where he choked zero people unconscious. I know how to choke people unconscious, John. I've been doing it for a long time. I mean, I don't choke them unconscious. They usually tap first if they're smart. But, yeah, I don't know what he's talking about.
Well, that's what Taz is saying. That's what AEW is selling, is the fact that Jake Hager is professional. He's legit.
Yeah, he is. I'm not saying he's not legit. I'm just saying the standing arm triangle doesn't really work. Seated, I can see, but then you really need to do it where your opponent's back is on the ground. That's how the arm triangle choke works. Sometimes you could do it if he's stuck in your guard, I guess. But even then, it's a lot easier to finish if you grab the hold in the guard and then you roll him over with it onto his back. Anyways, it doesn't matter. Chris Jericho cut a promo to a drone this week, so it's not like reality is really respected in AEW. I'm talking about a choke, in a certain position. Chris Jericho is literally having a conversation with a drone, and then Matt Hardy was teleporting, so it's not like AEW is really based in reality. Anyways, but I was entertained by it. I don't have a problem with the Vanguard 1 or Matt Hardy or anything like that. I thought the promo at the end of the show was very good. I enjoyed Jericho getting the cameraman to sing his theme song. I enjoyed Vanguard 1 showing up and saying, and Jericho's like, I don't like you, Vanguard 1. I don't like what you stand for. I don't like your political beefs that you put on your political views you put on social media, all of that kind of stuff. Like, he was really going into Vanguard 1. He's called him a piece of S. He really went in on Vanguard 1. He's like, I don't like you, but I do respect you, and I want you to join the inner circle. And then Vanguard 1 started flying away. It was really good stuff. It was funny. Jericho's good, and they had a big chunk of time there at the end of the show to entertain us. And I thought they did all right. I don't think it was the greatest promo I've ever seen, but it was entertaining, and I didn't hate it. I liked Matt Hardy showing up and then teleporting around the arena, telling Jericho that he's magic, and telling him that he has aligned himself with the Bucks of Youth. I thought the promo was good. I enjoyed all that stuff. And then, of course, Matt Hardy getting attacked by Jericho and Sammy Guevara, but Cody Rhodes and Kenny Omega making the save with some chairs, clear the ring, and that's how Dynamite ended this week. Again, not the greatest promo I've ever seen from Jericho and Matt Hardy, but because Jericho and Matt Hardy are so good at cutting promos, even a kind of mediocre one is good enough to close the show.
Well, I enjoyed Jericho's conversation that he had with Vanguard 1. It's something unique. It's different. Never seen that before. I laughed. I thought it was pretty funny. And I enjoyed Matt Hardy doing the teleporting. Again, something new and different. The promo, the back and forth, to me, it was just Matt selling his new gimmick. Because if you don't watch Free the Elite and Being the Elite, you don't know what's really going on with Matt Hardy. Like the broken Matt thing, that was years ago. So it was great for Matt just to explain what he is now.
Yeah, he's 3,000 years old. He is Damascus and all that stuff. He kind of gave the backstory and explained what Broken Matt was to the AEW viewers. And you're right about that. I was kind of like, yeah, I know. I've heard all this stuff, Matt, but I'm following the Free the Delete. I kind of know. I'm in on what's going on. But yeah, I guess if you're just watching AEW and not watching the other stuff, you're not that sure what he's doing. I thought it was solid stuff. I like Vanguard 1 doing the medical check-in on Nick Jackson, too, just kind of zooming into his house and, looking at Nick Jackson, and it says that he's 61% recovered, and then Nick Jackson kind of looks at Vanguard 1 like, what was that? And he, walks out of his house, looks up in the sky, and Vanguard 1 just kind of flies away. I like that. I thought that was good stuff. Good use of Vanguard 1, outside of Matt Hardy. Vanguard 1 is just now a personality in AEW checking on Nick Jackson. He's the California correspondent for AEW. So I thought that was good. Brody Lee having his first match in AEW, the leader of the Dark Order, the Exalted One, the former Luke Harper, now Brody Lee. He beats QT Marshall after a discus lariat, getting the 1-2-3 on QT, who's got an Apple gimmick now. Has he always been doing this Apple thing, or did I just notice it this week?
Yeah, because he's from the Big Apple. That's pretty much it.
Right. Okay. Brody Lee, QT Marshall, not much of a match, but I thought it was all right. I thought Brody Lee looked imposing. It did the trick to make him look good in that match. He looked good. QT Marshall did a good job of making him look good.
Well, it was a squash match. Pretty much just to showcase what Brody Lee can do in the ring. To me, it was the promo he cut before the match. To me, that was one of the highlights of Dynamite this week.
Was he doing a Vince McMahon impression there?
100%. If you listen to New Chalk is Jericho, he does a whole thing talking about how he came to AEW in his final days in WWE. Definitely worth a listen to after this show.
Oh, man. Chris Jericho's killing it these days. The Matt Hardy episode, and then he did another episode on Dark Side of the Ring with the guys who did that series, and now with Brody Lee. Man, Jericho's podcast is giving Wrestling Uncensored a run for our money. We're still doing all right, but Jericho's great, and he's the only other show that we would promote, really, on our show, because he's the only other show worth listening to as far as pro wrestling goes, other than Wrestling Uncensored, as far as I'm concerned. Jericho's show, and that's that, because Chris Jericho is the man. He's Le Champion. He doesn't need the belt to be called Le Champion, but I like that Brody Lee promo, sitting there with the Beaver Boys. They each have a plate in front of them. Brody Lee's eating this big steak. We all know how Vince McMahon likes to eat steak, and then one of the Beaver Boys is like, Brody Lee's telling them about the Dark Order, and we're going to take over now, and we're the best, and we're the Dark Order. This is the new order of the Dark Order, and one of the guys starts to eat their food, and Brody Lee's like, "What are you doing? You don't eat until I'm finished. Get out of here. Do I look like I'm done?" And I've heard that actually happens. Like, Vince McMahon will sit in a room with like a bunch of people, his writers or whatever, and he'll start talking, but he'll be eating at the same time. They'll all have food, but they're not allowed to eat until Vince is done. I've heard that that's true. I don't know if that's real or not, but I've heard that that's legit. Like, Vince is a little, bananas. And then the other Beaver Boy that's still there, he sneezes, and of course we all know the stories about Vince McMahon and sneezes. He hates when anybody sneezes. If he sneezes, he's like mad at himself for like a full week, just like mad. If he sneezes one time, because he wants to control it, because he's that much of a control freak. And if anybody sneezes anywhere near him, he's just like, "Get out of here. What are you doing here, pal? Sneezing. How dare you sneeze in front of Mr. McMahon, damn it." So, all that stuff definitely felt like Vince. Definitely felt like that's where Brody Lee was going with it. And if the Exalted One is just going to be this maniacal Vince McMahon type character, I'm all in, pal. I am all in to see what Brody Lee does here with this Vince-inspired Exalted One gimmick. I'm down.
To me, it seems like he's venting right now, which I think is healthy. If you remember, like, Steve Austin did this when he got fired from WCW. He just did these crazy promos in ECW, just saying how he's mad with Flair and Dusty and Bischoff and Hogan. So maybe it's Vince now, but maybe he'll have other kind of things where he's remembering something else he's upset with.
Well, Luke Harper definitely was stuck in the WWE for a while, not being used, very, very frustrated, and you can tell that he was mad, and he's still mad at the way he was treated. And, the best revenge is success, and I wish him all the best in AEW. I hope he has a lot of success there and sticks it in their face. If he really is the star that he believes he is, then he will have the opportunity to prove it here in All Elite Wrestling. And so far, I'm convinced. So far, I'm down with the program. I like Brody Lee. I think Brody Lee's way better than Luke Harper. I never had a problem with Luke Harper as a wrestler. I thought he had everything going for him as far as in the ring. I thought that what lacked with Luke Harper was the character, was the promo, was the gimmick. But this Exalted One gimmick, I think, has been great. The promo he did this week was fantastic. Last week was good. I'm into this Brody Lee character. So, hey, man, WWE never gave him a good character, a good promo, a good gimmick. Now that he's got this could be the ticket for him. So, yeah, the WWE definitely does squander talent. We know this. That's a fact. Look how much better Jon Moxley is compared to Dean Ambrose. And I think we're going to see an even better version of Brody Lee here compared to Luke Harper. So I'm happy for him. And he has the right to be upset. Obviously, the guy's a tremendous talent and wasn't being used by the WWE.
Well, in terms of push and like his runs, he had several opportunities in WWE. It was just consistency was the problem. He'd go on a run, the Bludgeon Brothers, they do well, and suddenly they're gone. And then there's nothing for him. I think that was the main problem, is just that, okay, like, Rowan got hurt, but he can still wrestle, he can still do stuff, but they did nothing for him. I think that was a huge problem, where it's like, keep using him, do something else with him, but they had nothing for him, and that was a waste.
Yeah, well, they kept trying to break up Harper and Rowan as a tag team. They kept breaking them up for no reason in particular. If they just would have kept them as a tag team for all those years, they probably would have been able to make money off of them and had some success. They had tremendous matches with the Usos back when they were part of the Wyatt family. They were a great tag team, but they just never got it together with those guys. They kept trying to break them up for one odd reason or another. I don't know, but hopefully Harper or Brody Lee now does well in AEW. Big Johnny, we are running short on time. When can people see you in the ring?
Oh, that's a great guess. I have no idea. Let's hope in May, maybe June.
Okay.
Who knows?
So who knows? Who knows? Continue to follow him on Twitter at North Genesis, on Instagram at Genesis Johnny North. You can follow me on all the things at Dave Simon MMA. RingsideReport.net is the website. Go there. We've got everything in the UFC covered. John Jones got arrested this week. Did you hear about that? We talked about it at length on Ringside Report this week. Check out Dave and Johnny Live. All the shows available on YouTube and Facebook. Thank you, everybody, for watching and listening. Thank you to everybody helping us out on the radio side as well. For Johnny North, I am Dave Simon, and this has been Wrestling Uncensored. Next week, the WrestleMania 36 preview. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.